So today we're meeting up with the people from BrewBoard. We've got Ollie and Paul actually in the brewery at the moment.
No, you haven't.
Ollie, it's not. It's Stuart and Paul. Sorry, that's a good start for me.
I'm going to put my ginger wig on.
Yeah, apologies for that. So, well, let's go over to the brewery and start talking. So, give us a bit of background.
Hiya, Ollie.
Hiya, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. It's a bit hot in here though, because it's been one of those stifling days, hasn't it? So the brewery's unfortunately at this level inside. It normally keeps very cold in here. It's actually warmed up a bit, so yeah, it's a bit hot.
That and there was a brew today, so all the excess heat.
Yeah, so yeah. But anyway, we're here. It's all good. What would you like to know? Well,
there's 2 or 3 people, or possibly more than that, who set BrewBoard going. How did you meet up, and what made you want to run a brewery?
Originally, I had a small brewery down near Saffron Walden, and I was brewing just small batches. We've got some of the kit still here from there, funnily enough. Well, yeah, here we go. You can have a look. There you go. Just over here. It's up on the mezzanine at the minute. On the little rest up here. And I've known my colleague Paul, who's our financial director, and Paul heads up and handles a lot of the sales in the company as well, alongside with Oliver. I've known Paul for I don't know, excess of 25 years probably. It's quite a long time, and I wanted to expand and put together a larger sort of concern, on a brewery level, and approached Paul, and Paul wanted in, and we went on. We met Oliver through another mutual friend, and formed the company, and went on from there really. But that was back in mid 2016. We got the keys in the beginning of January 2017, and we got the premises where we still are today, and then stripped it out. Got Malrex up in Stoke-on-Trent to Burton-on-Trent, am I talking about? To actually fabricate and build the brew house for us, and we had that in within about 5 months thereabouts, and did our first brews. Had Joe Ince, who's now the head brewer at Marble. He came down and gave us a hand, and it's gone on from there really. So there's Oliver, who handles all the designs that you see on all our cans and all our advertising, and you've seen that yourself obviously many times when you've been here. It's quite unique, which is good. It gives us a strong position in the market. People recognise the brand and the characters. And yeah, Paul, like I said, he's our financial director as well. He runs the finances on the company, and I handle production alongside somebody who's there. There's another chap sitting behind the camera, David. He was a head brewer at an Italian brewery. He's now working here as effectively as our lead brewer at the moment. So yeah, it's all good.
Excellent. So 3 years. I mean, it seems longer than that.
Well, lots happened, in that time.
Yeah.
Well, you've had the tank expansions going since then, including a double-sized tank for kind of double brew days, and allow kind of a lagering process.
We just well, David handled all that. Just did yesterday a lager, the Rex, and again today. And it's all gone into the 60 hectolitre tank behind us.
The one that's probably just lit up. We're going to do a little bit of a tour around shortly to show everyone the kit and the kind of how the setup is here, and walk them through a kind of normal brew day at BrewBoard.
Sounds excellent. Before we get onto that, how about opening a can?
Sounds like a plan.
Could do, yeah. You got a Rex on hand? I thought we'd start off with a Rex, yeah?
I do. By chance,
excellent.
I have a can of Rex,
Good.
which it says is a dry hop lager.
Hopefully it does what it says on the tin. There we go. Observe the distance.
If you can hear a weird popping, I apologise. Stuart's decided to sit on bubble wrap.
Just don't fancy sitting on a plank all evening.
That's
a
very...
one of those magic glasses that disappears.
Yes, I know. I have to put it in front of me, or else you won't see it. But it's a lovely. Yeah, it could do with a white background because it's a really nice pale beer, and it's got a lovely head on it there. Nice bit of effervescence.
So, what are the malts that make this one up, Stuart?
It's Europils. Yeah, there's a little bit of Cara Gold in there, and a bit of dextrin, and some Munich, light Munich. Munich.
So with it being the lager, Stuart, how long did this one stay in tank for?
This has had a residency in tank for, it's approximately about 38 to 45 days, around that sort of period. So it stays in the fermenter for quite a long time. Hence, what you have to do with a lager, it's a long drawn out process.
Yeah.
You can't really force a lager. They taste extremely young, for a long time, quite frankly. So they do need that lagering process, for sure. But this is, you might say, quite a standard European pale lager. It's built around the parameters, that you get in the BJPC categories. I think it sort of hits all the notes that we were looking to do.
What do you go for on the nose with this? What should people be hoping to smell and taste as they kind of bring this through?
Well, we've primarily gone with authentic German hops on this. We've not gone with any, American or Southern Hemisphere hops in there. So we've got Ariana as one of the main hops in here, and Mandarin of Bavaria in there. So they come through quite strongly, really. And in a traditional sense, the idea of maybe putting Southern Hemisphere style hops in there, it would completely radically change it. I think the idea was to go out and create quite a genuine, German style lager.
Excellent. It's very nice, very refreshing.
Well, I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah. It's for a British brewed lager. It's definitely not a pint of Foster's.
Win. That's it. We're done.
Cheers.
Yeah. So how long have you been brewing this one? Have you brewed this one right from the word go?
This is about our fourth.
This is the fourth iteration.
Fourth run, I think now. Yeah, fourth run. Yeah, it's done in double guiles. There's always 2 brews to make up the volume. We do 2 brews. We've done it once in 2 brews in one day, but it does make quite a long day. Because you've got the cold liquor tank has to refill. You got to get everything back to square one again. So makes quite a long day. It's an 18-barrel brew kit that we use here. It's a single infusion mash tun. So we boil up to about 3,000 litres in the kettle. It's quite a substantial amount of work that we're producing.
Yeah.
So with standard Rex, the lager, do you put more malt in that compared to your other ones? How's that balance up?
Not really. No, the malts, they bring a lot of digestive power. They bring a lot of extract that we can get from the malts.
And obviously, water's a big thing. And obviously, with the
water
German
profile is key, and it's something we're continually working on to try and improve all the time and get the quality of the beer up. And a lot of that is driven by the water that we use, which we call liquor in the business.
Yeah.
So do you do anything different with this liquor compared to your normal ales?
Yeah, we treat the liquor with chemicals, acids in the hot liquor tank. And with this, we use lactic acid. That's what we use in the tank for that. Otherwise, we're using sulfuric acid and hydrochloric acid, and phosphoric, those sorts of acids, which can be pretty dangerous. That's what makes this industry, genuinely exciting. It's like a giant man cave all the time. You play with lots of, interesting chemicals. You got, the microbiology. Fluid dynamics, you've got all the other things that go on with it, as well as just brewing. Good fun.
So we've just had a question coming that we're going to answer. So this is from Pete and Andy. It says, this Rex has a really dry finish. Is that from the dry hopping? And if so, which hop is prominent in that finish?
No, I think that primarily just comes down to the yeast that we're using and the way it attenuates out, and it's giving quite a dry finish, which I quite favour, to be honest. It's not got a lot of residual sweetness to it either.
So are we telling people the yeast, or is that house secret?
A lot of it is down to the yeast. And it's down to process as well, how you manage the beer in the different stages of fermentation and through the chilling.
Good stuff. Hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah, I think so. It sounded pretty convincing, that. So,
No.
So
you say this is the third iteration of it. So
not iteration, but for fourth time, eighth time, you might say, we've brewed it, because they're done in double batches. The guiles are, we do them twice, to get the volume up. Because to make it commercially viable, in the runs that we do in the brew lengths, then if we're going to fill up a 60 hectolitre vessel, the fermenter needs a lot of wort in there, and we can't get that one from one brew length. We have to do two. So to keep it in residence in the fermenter for so long, we got the giant big 60 hectolitres behind us compared to our 30 litre fermenters. We have those, 5 of those. I think Paul's going to show you now. It's best to fill it up and then we've got lots of it, because it takes such a long time to get into packaging.
So this is the brew floor, and over to this side you can see there is a series of the 30 hectolitres, and then as we pan round, there's this monster comes into shot, which for anyone who's not been here is the 60 hectolitre one. So that's double the size of the others, and that's what gets filled twice, either back-to-back brew day or 2 days in a row.
So how many kegs worth is that then? Trying to think out 60 hectolitres. That's an awful lot, isn't it?
It is a lot, yeah.
Get your calculator out.
Off the top of my head.
So it's 6,000 litres.
What do you get?
5,000 litres in the actual tank, roughly.
Yeah, we yield generally about 5.2, 5.3 a lot of the time from there. So, but yeah, about 160. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not a lot. It's quite a it's a lot of keggage, put it that way.
Yeah, that must take a fair time. You must set aside a day just to do that, or
if you times that then by pints in a 30 litre keg is approximately 52. That's an awful lot of pints.
Yeah.
Not to mention your latest toy downstairs, which is the canning line.
Oh yeah, canning line. Yeah, which is it's great. It's a love-hate relationship with that machine, but it's working so far really well, which is great news. It just did its record run this week as well. Faultless run from start to finish, and really good.
Yeah. So, how many of your beers do you generally put into can? Do they all go into can as well as keg?
Yeah, we generally, obviously, now with this COVID-19 situation we all find ourselves in, obviously keg sales, to trade, just dried up straight away. On the lockdown, it just ended. So the only way we can go to market is through our website, where you can find the beers on there in our shop, on our web shop, which we're introducing new beers to as they come downstream. We've got quite a few interesting beers coming as well, I must point out. Really nice saison on the way, and we'll be propagating, growing our own and keeping our own in-house yeast strain, which is going to be really exciting actually, and that's going to be introducing a lot of new beers for us as well that we'll be putting on through at the moment can, and when the opportunity arises that people can get out and the pubs, tap rooms, and restaurants everywhere open up, and we can get some trade sales back. It'll be going out in keg. But for now, it's all into small pack. into 330 milliliter cans, or 440, but at the moment we're sticking with 330.
Trade's definitely starting to pick up a little bit. You see the likes of Pine Shop today posting the picture of them finally filling up that famous blackboard again with beers, and it was quite nice to see our name top of the list as well.
Excellent.
So that was quite nice to see, and it's good to see some of these kind of smaller places getting open, even if it's just for takeaways. For now, it just helps the industry keep moving. It helps keep things developing and selling. So it's kind of nice to see that slow increase again. We've had a quite a good question here. I think it might be quite a good one for you to answer through from Niall Taylor. So Niall Taylor has asked how long a brew day is, and can you just talk us through what your standard brew day is?
Good question. Well, it usually starts, could start really early. It's always better to, because on average the whole brewing process takes about 7 hours for us here, from start to finish. What we try to do is, and generally always do, makes it a lot easier, is to actually load the grain, which we refer to when it's all combined as the grist, into a box above the mash tun, and we load it the night before, because it makes it a lot easier when you come in the morning. You can just get all your temperatures right with your brewing liquor, etc. And it's much easier to do that the night before than it is in the morning. Imagine humping God knows how many sacks, 25 kg sacks around first thing in the morning isn't fun. But once we mash in, we have usually on average a 60-minute, an hour infusion, or up to a 90-minute. Depends on what type of beer we're doing. And then we transfer the wort through into the kettle, which can take again while we're sparging and rinsing all the sugars out of the grain with the remaining liquor that we calculated to get our volumes up in the kettle. We sparge through the mash tun into the underback, through into the kettle, and that fills up with the sweet wort, which we then get the burners going. It's a gas-fired system, and that gets going when we get near the top, fires up, and we run the boil, get to the boil for about 1 hour. Sometimes we go a bit longer again, maybe 90 minutes, depending on what type of beer you're making. Then there's the cooling stage and the transfer, which we call casting, which is when we transfer the beer down to the wort, I should say, down to the fermenters, and that again takes approximately maybe 50 minutes to an hour or more sometimes. It's not that quick, because you've got to chill it down from 100 to about 80 generally. That's when we do some of our Whirlpool steep hop additions. And then we chill it down to the temperatures required for the yeast, which on average is about 19.5 up to 20 degrees we generally shoot for in the fermenter. So all those 60 minutes, 90 minutes and transfer periods, it takes quite a bit of time. And equally in that, once you've finished the mash, you've then got to dig it out. So if you put in, let's say, 600 kilograms of malt, a kilogram of malt will absorb approximately just over 1 litre of liquid. So your combined weight of 600 then jumps to 1200. So effectively you're shoveling out 1.2 metric ton of weight, spent malt, which goes into an IBC that then goes off to a local farmer, which feeds the cattle. So it's a nice round circle thing going on there as well.
So all in all, how long do you reckon the day
so
is?
about 7 hours, usually 6 to 7 hours. You can do it a bit quicker if you really kind of sprint on everything in between, but generally the process will take about that long. Yeah.
Should we do another beer?
Let's do another beer.
So we're now going to do Smokeworks, which is for the first time available in 330 cans, which I believe was that today, yesterday?
Monday and Tuesday. Yeah. So this is super green, so to speak. Yeah, super fresh. This is, if anyone's got any questions, I mean, you might say, what's the carbonation level? With this type of beer, we generally shoot for something like about 2.3, 2.35. And if you want to know how we judge those levels, we use a very clever machine called an Orbisphere, which is measures the CO2 in solution by passing finished beer through the machine, and it goes through a membrane which pumps nitrogen through it, and it calculates and gives us results. So we can fine-tune our carbonation levels very accurately, which is very important to get repetition in, in a product. If you want to make the same beer, you want to get the same mouthfeel and the same fizz, then yeah, you need to know what your carb levels are exactly. And also, if you overcarb, for instance, it can make it a bit of a nightmare on canning wine. You get all sorts of fogging issues.
So fobbing is where, for those of people who don't know, is where it basically just comes through as foam, and it just...
That's the CO2 breakout.
Yeah, it kind of quite often is controlled by getting the lines super chilled to bring the temperature down and get it back under control.
Again, this beer, Smokeworks, is one that we put together that works with Smokeworks with the restaurants.
Yeah.
And it goes out to a lot of the pubs in that Camps Cuisine group. It was really designed to go and sit comfortably with, the sort of barbecued meats and whatever. And this beer does utilise again quite a lot of German hops, as opposed to sort of North American or English or Southern Hemisphere hops.
Was that to get the pairing with the meat?
Yeah, it kind of works. Yeah. And it has a nod to lagers again to some degree. So it has that kind of reference in there too. So yeah.
There's more pop on the nose for this one than there was in the last one, isn't there? You get a lot more of a...
Yeah, I think you'll find a lot more, because it is so young, it will meld and round off in packaging as well, the next week or two. And I think you'll find a lot more that hop notes start to come through a bit more too.
But again, the quantity of hops that you put in roughly between Smokeworks and Rex.
Oh, there's a lot more hops in Smokeworks than there is in Rex, yeah.
Which is also the kind of reason for the hop forward nature of it, which you'd expect far more than with the lager. So that's one of the big reasons.
Yeah, the Rex was designed so that it really hit the marks in the profile of that beer style. So to prove that, to make a lager, actually make it to the letter and don't funk around with it. I do have some ideas. I really want to do some different lagers and really start messing around, really hop them up and use some mixed fermentations and just do some more interesting things with the lagers, to be honest. But this is in our core range now, and it's there for a purpose, really.
Yeah, well, I think it's proved very popular, hasn't it, since it was introduced?
Yeah, it's gone into a lot of venues and various outlets in London. Obica in London, down at Canary Wharf, they've got it in their restaurants, and sort of expanding. Well, obviously, and right now, subject to everybody's would shut down now. But hey, yeah.
But again, there's been the demand for it, which is why it's been packaged into the 330 and brought onto the online shop.
Well, part of that is driven by the canning that we do at the moment, where we get our cans printed. We've gone away from using the shrink sleeves, and that is more to do with a recycling, and a green sort of element as well, to just get away from those films that are on the outside of the can. And so now we are, producing a totally recyclable product that can, it's infinitely recyclable, the aluminium. And unfortunately, the company that do the printing for us have not yet made the components that can actually print up to the 440, 500 style cans, but that's coming soon. So eventually we will be able to do that as well.
Okay, thank you. I mean, around Cambridge, we know what Smokeworks is, but if you're selling it in London, aren't you worried that people are going to expect a smoky beer with a name like that?
Like a Roush beer? No, it's true. We don't export it really out of the Cambridgeshire area.
Okay.
That's the only.
But now it's on the website. Obviously, it does travel, but we don't go into the trade outside of Cambridge because it is primarily, for our relationship with Smokeworks.
Yeah.
We've had quite an interesting question, and I think you probably looking for a bit of a disaster story here
Excellent.
to lighten the mood. So there's a guy called Craig Driver.
Hello, Craig.
Has said, have you guys ever had a beer spillage when moving beer between vessels? And if so, what happens and what's the best way for you guys to clean it up? Do you have a wet vac for that kind of stuff, or how does it escape the raised floor?
No, never had one off the brew house floor. Had a few. I did do a classic whilst talking and not concentrating. The valve was open on the fermenters, and it had 2.5 metric tons of weight sitting in there with some head pressure beer, fully loaded. So it comes out bloody quick. And I took a hose off the front end with the valve open. Yeah, and that came out quickly.
Bit of a mess.
Yeah, I got covered. Put it mildly. Yeah.
And then
it went everywhere. But it's easy to clean. We just use a jet wash. Jet washers are our best friends. They're great. Yeah, I did see something funny today. Actually, I posted as well. It's quite unfortunate, and I know the guy as well. That he had an Arlington, which is a big plastic box where you put 1,000 litres of beer into a big bag inside the box, and then it gets shipped off to, say, a bottling company or a canning company. They obviously had a bit of a mishap when they're trying to get it on the lorry or something in the van, because it obviously tipped over and this bag then jumped out of the box. They had this huge, like a waterbed of beer. Just obviously you couldn't ever lift it and put it back in. So yeah, that didn't look good. But yeah, I from what I knew, he was going to connect hoses to and pump it out of there into another bag, back and put the new bag in the box again. But nightmare.
that was a bit of a disaster, wasn't it?
So, yeah, feel sorry for him. But yeah, no major hassles really with spillages. No, fortunately, apart from just wearing it. Mind you, you wore some today, didn't you? They really did.
He's just pointing at the lead row behind you at
flushing some hops and it caught him. Yeah, it came out a bit quicker, I think, as well.
It's the flushing of the hops is when it's just drawn through from the dry hopping process and it's in the bottom of the cone.
Yeah, we are going to be getting a what can be termed as a hop rocket or a hop infuser. Yeah, it's a little mini baby one, isn't it? Which is going to radically change the beer profiles to some degree with hop aromas, the extraction of the oils and all the other chemicals that what you detect in the beer. But one of the main things is above the quality of the beer is that we can manage the hops a lot easier in fermentation because we do the infusion out of tank, out of the fermenter. We pump the beer into the hop rocket through the hop rocket. There's a lot of turbidity in there and all the hop pellets, T90 hop pellets, they get smashed up, but they can't escape that environment. So they infuse the beer really successfully, and the beer gets pumped back into the fermenter. And it's a much quicker process, a much better extraction rate. So the quality of the hop extraction into the beer is much more profound. And yeah, we can then clear the hops away from the beer, because if you leave the hops that you dried hopped in the fermenter, however you try and flush them out, you've still leave quite a skin of hops, a layer at the bottom of the cone of the fermenter, which can, if the beer is in there for a fair amount of time, its residence is maybe up to 2 weeks, for instance, or something, where you do a bit of maturation in tank, then you can get grassy notes coming out of the residual hops that are in there, which is things you don't really necessarily want. So keeping it all out is great. So it's going to really help our process and improve the quality of the beer.
Excellent.
And keep it from going down the drain as well, because it's a real drain blocker as well. All the hop pellet dust is, it's a nightmare. It further down the line, it can block it very easily.
That was a disaster.
Yeah, I've had a block drain twice now, but yeah, you just have to get a hire company come and clear the drains. Yeah,
We've had another question come in, and I think you're going to really enjoy the name of this person. So we've had a question from Lord T.
Lord T, I know him.
And it's, do you do real ale?
I like that.
It's a good question. It's a very good question.
Real ale to me is what I'd regard as cask ale, generally. But what do you call craft beer? How would you define craft beer? But real ale, no, I would like to do some cask. I've always said I'd quite like to just do some cask of ripcord, for instance, and just see how it pans out really. But we're not really geared up for it, the brewery at the moment. But yeah, I'm intrigued by it. I've got a plan for a very classic English IPA coming up there as well. That's going to be coming up pretty soon. So yeah, watch this space.
Yeah.
Which is going to be using a lot of English hops as well. So,
okay, so where do you normally get your hops? I mean, you obviously for the lager you were using German hops, weren't they?
Yeah. We do get hops from all over the place, but there are some very good English hops. There's no doubt about that. But equally, I mean, there's great hops coming out. New ones. They take a long time before they come to market. That's for sure. 6 years or so of testing before they're released into the field, so to speak, into the wild.
Is there any particular new malts or hops coming to market that you know of that you're particularly excited to get your hands on and try, either on the big kit or on the pilot kit that would have been seen recently? Yeah, we've just had, I think, what could be some of the first batch of a new blend come into the UK from Yakima Chief. It's very exciting. We opened one of the bags and crushed and had a good sniff of the hop. It's still a T90 pellet. It smells amazing. I'm really looking forward to using it. Should be a very big fruit bowl, fruit bomb sort of hop, all being well.
So do you get in small samples of the hops and sit around thinking?
Sometimes we do.
I can blend that one with that one, or.
But usually we try to trial a prototype on the pilot kit, which was my original brewing kit, which functions really well. To trial beers. Some of the brews, we can just go straight in, because you've got confidence, you know your ingredients, so to speak, and you get an idea of what you're going to end up with. It's a long, drawn-out process. You've got a long time before you actually get the finished product in your hand. It's a long haul. So I mean, we're constantly thinking, months ahead all the time.
Yeah.
So to kind of go out. Sorry.
I was going to say, because if you're making 30 hectolitres or 60 hectolitres, that's a big risk. So
yeah. If you get it wrong, financially, it could be a proper disaster. But it's fundamentally it's knowing, having a confidence, but also knowing your equipment profiles and getting the best out of it, but also getting an understanding of the ingredients you're using, your malt, your yeast, the hops, and obviously the liquor, and any other adjuncts that you choose to park in there, be it some, yuzu or whatever, there's so many things you can add in there.
So I've seen a question come in of where do you get your inspiration from for your recipes and the funky stuff that you see? Is there any particular source?
I think a lot of the time it's generally driven by, it's not plagiarism, but beers that you've tried from other people's, production that you think, wow, that just blowing me away. I'd love to try and do something similar to that. A lot of it is driven by that, yeah. And also you think, well, I'd like to do something different. I'd like to just bend the rules a little bit. I've got some ideas for some sour IPAs and an introduction of some adjuncts into that that are foraged a little bit. You might say that's a bit like wild beer, what they do a lot, But I mean, they're inspiring. I mean, what they do, the beers they've created over the years, it's just been fabulous. I mean, really exciting combinations, things you wouldn't necessarily think of putting together, and they have, and it's worked. Some may be better than others. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, we have another question about one of your beers that you're not brewing at the moment.
Question coming. Your Brut IPA was outstanding. Are there any plans to bring it back?
Is this Le Commandant?
It is Le Commandant.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest with you, if I could have rigged it, so I said this question, I would have.
I've that question a lot actually. Yeah. I keep saying to people, watch this space. He's going to sneak up and he's going to kind of
Sneaky.
Jump out.
I
Yeah.
think the phrase I'll use, he might sneak in when you're least expecting him.
He's not gone away. He's definitely not gone away. Yeah.
On that note, shall we crack the next can? You've still got the
I've
flask.
still got some here. I won't go through that. Yeah.
I mean,
So
you
next-
don't see it off, but
Do you want to sit here for a minute?
yeah.
Ali,
I'll take
Yeah,
it.
I'm just going to get move a minute. And,
That's fine.
introduce you to David.
Yeah, we can quiz David instead. He'll tell us all
Yeah.
the secrets,
Go for
the
it.
things you won't tell us.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi.
He's on
Fine.
the
Thank
bubble
you.
back
So how long have you been with BrewBoard then?
I started to work in February. Yeah. But I start come here in October, but like a friend, I start to come here to watch and help. But I work in February.
And it's been an interesting few months since February, hasn't it? You probably
Yeah.
never again this one.
It's bad timing, isn't it?
Could you give us a bit of a background from your brewing history in Italy? Just kind of
Yes.
let everyone know your experience.
Yes. I use my experience because Stuart can yes can hear my proposal.
Yeah.
And can change something, but yes, my experience was I think it's good, and I can help to improve this
So,
activity.
Davide's got quite a lot of experience in microbiology side of things as well. So he's been doing a course back in Italy on Mondays, I think.
Yeah.
You? So been doing a remote course in the kind of microbiology and how the water works. So again, as Stuart and I were alluding to earlier, how the water profile is absolutely king and key to producing certain types of beer and having a specific water profile that is very much associated with BrewBoard as well as it kind of transforms through the liquor. So Davide's working really hard with Stuart on a kind of daily basis to ensure that is kind of consistent and being driven out on the four to the key and important points.
So in Italy, there's some really exciting brewing going on in the north of the country. Is that where you're from? Or you've...
Yes, I'm from near Bologna, between Bologna and Milan. And in Milan and the North Italy, there are a lot of interesting brewery. And yes, the quality is different because it's not the tradition in Italy, the beer. And there are more tradition of German beer and more lager and something similar to lager.
So
Yeah.
Is there any like new craft beers coming up that you think actually there's some craft breweries in Italy? So what are your favourites? Who's your favourite Italian craft brewer? Don't say Pro.
No, yes, my favorite is not in the north of Italy. Is in Rome. Is Ritual Lab, and was this year was the best brewery in Italy because it won a lot of
Awards.
yeah,
Yeah.
with the different beer.
Mike, he's won quite a few awards, hasn't he?
And yes, Hebrew lager or new IPA, different IPA with new hops, different kind of beer.
So it's just been pointed out to me from behind the camera from Stuart that actually Davide had some award-winning beer in Italy himself. So maybe you could just tell us what your award-winning beer was and beers, sorry, plural. I do apologise. So what was your favourite beer that you brewed that kind of maybe won an award, or what do you think made it so special?
Yes, my favorite beer is a lager. It's a bock beer. It's a amber beer, 6% of alcohol, and is very malty and more sweet than bitter. And I like because it's a complex beer but easy to drink, and it's not very easy to make. But it's my favorite side. And I can't find one in UK, but it's okay.
Maybe we'll have to make one.
Yeah.
So other than that beer, ignoring Stuart over there bearing down on getting all the beers out, if you could brew a beer here, what would be the first recipe that you'd knock out? What would be the first big beer that you'd go for here? For you, so ignoring Stuart, pretend he's not here.
Yes, I would like to make a or bock,
Yeah.
or a triple IPA.
Yeah.
Yes, with the 10 or 11% of
So
alcohol. But
big,
very
big,
hoppy.
big
Yes.
hoppy IPA.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good answer. We like that answer.
It sounds like he likes some big, strong beers.
Yeah.
I prefer strong beer, not
Yeah.
4%. It's not my favorite beer.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Are we time to go on to the next beer? Since
Sorry, I was just getting.
are we down for the Bambino?
Yes. So the
was
next one is the Bambino. Do you want to come back in and talk about Bambino?
No,
There you go. So,
well, it's
did a
the
good
problem
job,
is
man.
social distancing, isn't it? We're having to juggle around a bit because of the social distancing issues at the moment.
so I'm going to try and ask some questions about Bambino. So, what do you find about Bambino? What kind of flavors do you get on the nose and on the palate? What should people at home who are trying this beer? What do you think they should be able to smell and taste?
In this beer, we use American hops, different 4 different hops, and the smell is fruity, more fruity. But the body is not very dry; it's a bit sweet, it's smooth.
Yes.
And yes, it's 5% alcohol more or less, but you can drink a lot because it's easy to drink. It's not alcoholic. It's not warming in your mouth.
Very crisp, very
Yes.
clean.
Yeah. So we use a different kind of malt. One Cara malt is a bit dark, and pale and Cara gold. Different malt, but it's a bit clear. It's not amber or dark.
So you said about the specialty malts in this. So is it how much of a proportion, how much percentage is speciality to standard malts?
I'm not sure, but more or less 15% specialty. 15 is mix different 3 different specialty malts. 5, more or less.
So what's your favourite thing about this beer?
Is I think that it's easy to drink, but you can smell, you can detect different flavor, and it's not easy. It's a bit complex, but easy to drink, and I think that's a good mix.
How are you finding it?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's got a little bit more sweetness, not quite as dry as the previous one, which was the Smokeworks.
Yes, more is more dry.
Yeah. So this has got the we've got Citra in here, haven't we? There's a few cribbing the notes: Chinook, Citra, and Mosaic. I think it says.
It's like you knew. It's like they weren't written down anywhere.
It's good to have a website. I'm hoping everybody's going to check your website out as well.
You hit the hops right on the head.
Yes, you can find the resinous flavor from Chinook, and it's very important flavor in this beer.
Yeah, especially for the style. That's the kind of, you need that resinous coming through. And as Davide says, the Chinook's the way that kind of we've delivered that here.
Yeah.
American. Yeah, we've covered it as American hops earlier. Sorry, crib notes from behind, making sure that we're getting it the right way. Superb. Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah. Bye.
Cheers, Davide. I'll see you again.
We're just having a swap back. So Stuart's coming back into the fold now.
Well, he'll be perfect. He can answer the next question then, can't he?
He can. So I've been leaving this question till Stuart's back. So we've had a question come in from Metalhead666.
I know who that is. Hello.
Are there any plans? Are there any plans to bring back Handroid? I'm really missing it.
Oh my God.
Cheers.
Got a memory, John. You've got a memory. Hey, keep it. Hope you keep him well, fella.
So maybe we can start with what Handroid was.
Android. Oof. Yeah, that was. I'm afraid bad news is probably no. That was quite a hybrid. To reproduce that would be tricky. I'm not saying it would be impossible. Yeah, that was a little bit of turmoil with a twist. So yeah, I don't think Owen's coming back, but you never know. You never know. It might.
I think it's safe to say no.
So far,
the commandant is going to raise his big old bull-horned head. He's coming
excellent.
back.
So far we've had all pale beers, and I know that the last one's a NEPA, so that's going to be fairly pale, even if it's going to be cloudy. But you do dark beers. You know, I've had your dark beers before.
Yes. Well, we've got Turmoil coming back. It's in the last stages of maturation in tank at the moment. Behind us, actually, just down here. Yeah, that's coming back. Our dark beers we did recently, lactose infused Silky, which is a milk stout. And we've got Father Grime, which is our black IPA stroke stout, bit of a hybrid, that one. So yeah, but like I said, there's quite a few more beers lining up now to expand our portfolio of specials as well. You know, we've got we've got a good sort of core range, and a lot of them, you know, are driven around the pale ale sort of area. But you know, they're very squashable sort of drink pale ales. You know, the term, you know, some of them session pales, you know, for a reason. But now it's time to expand out and produce some other stuff. Just kindly had something brought up there, which is
excellent,
very interesting. Wish I could share this with you. This is we're shooting for about 13% on this, wasn't it? 13, 14?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably about 12.5 to 13 now.
So following on from Davide being here with his liking his stronger beers, we've jumped straight in at 13%.
wow. Are you using a different
Bill
yeast?
stout. This is an impy stout, David's recipes that was brewed a little while ago. It's probably going to have about another 9 months of just cellaring and maturing.
Wow.
But it's had some lactose in, and it's now sitting on a load of American white oak that have been infused for quite a while with spiced rum. The oak staves have been put into the spiced rum. Yeah, and I'm getting the oak, you know, the spiced oak sort of flavours coming through now, and yeah, cool.
Before it comes in on the chat, do you want to take it off your nose?
Brilliant.
Well done. Sorry, it was just quite a streak of beer on Stuart's nose there.
Yeah. Can you sell a beer like that in keg? I mean, is there enough demand for a place to take a beer like that in keg, or will that be purely a can?
What we tend to find, you look at the likes of people like Brew York, and then other kind of similar breweries, Northern Monk, who have done these kind of big, heavy, impy sales. They sell them in keg, but they sell them in smaller kegs. Yeah. So rather than going for your standards, they'll sell them in kind of mini 10, 15 litre kegs. Because when they get to bulk shops or wherever they're being kind of sold on, that they're in such small pours that you just physically don't go through the same quantity. So no. We're looking at a range of different smaller keg options.
One of our goals, future, you know, the sort of the path that the business is going to go, is to introduce a barrel aging program as we expand. That is one of the things that we're going to be introducing, and all being well, pretty soon as well, so we can get that off the ground. Where this sort of beer will be then barrel aged, and packaging wise, it will probably go into you know, either 330 or just slightly bigger, you know, stumpy bottles or something like that. You know? But yeah,
that'd be very interesting.
We've got just under 9 minutes left.
Wow, that's gone quick.
There's two things that I would like to make sure that happen before then. Can we just talk about the Mighty Bee stickers?
Yes.
Can we talk about the Mighty Bee stickers for a couple of 3 minutes, and then I'd like us just to talk about the new house blend plan with a bit of creek.
So Bee Stickers is a fairly new beer. It only came out a week or so ago, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, this version of Bee Stickers is version 1, which ultimately will be superseded by version 2, which will be the main version, which is when we introduce a new yeast into the mix, which is going to be our house strain of a Kvik yeast, which is the one we're going to be propagating, and it'll carry through a lot of different flavors. The character that the yeast will bring, lots of different esters, where we're using quite like a USO 5 style yeast in here, which is very neutral. It doesn't bring a lot of flavor profile to the actual finished beer. So the Kvik one that we're going to be employing in this bad boy, should really rock. And with the introduction of the hot rocket as well, it should help move things forward considerably as well. So I'm going in.
So for the people
who
don't understand perhaps the difference between, you've just said kind of AYO 5 and Kvik, maybe just on a very basic level, we could just highlight a few of the key differences where the backgrounds are.
The Kvik yeast, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, I think actually means yeast, as in from Norway. Is certain fjords in Norway where these yeasts have been resident for a very, very long time, without being, blended or changed in many ways. They've stayed very true and original. Some of the, apparently I've been reading about the DNA tests that they've done on the yeast. Can prove that they've stayed pretty pure for a couple of thousand years thereabouts. And in part of the DNA chain, part of it came from China as one of the main differences in there. It's quite fascinating. But equally, the range of flavors that you get from this particular yeast, and there's about 5 or 6 or more. In fact, I did read recently as well, there could be up to about 15 available from the yeast library. They've got a lot of it categorized there, and I think it was up to about 15 specifics, variants of it. But generally, one that is commercially available now is called Voss, and a lot of brewers are now using that. It comes in a dried 500-gram pack that you can get. But the one we're going to be using isn't that. It's going to be a different one. We've trialled another one already. One that was originally called Ragnar. We tried that. Valkyrie. We tried that. And that came in as a slurry, as a wet yeast. We brought that in, and that was what we used for this one. So then you can see, which is Sacristan. That bit, which is we used AMG's its enzymes to help get the attenuation down to 0. Basically, it was introduced in the fermentation. But yeah, Kvik is amazing stuff. It ferments at incredibly high temperatures without mutating and producing off flavors and things where the ale yeast would. It can go up to about 38 degrees. So when you actually take a sample from the fermenter in your hand, it actually feels genuinely really hot, and it's really spooky. But it's an incredible yeast, and it ferments incredibly fast as well. So it kind of speeds up your production time a little bit as well. But the flavour profiles are quite stunning and very unique. Which we're going to employ in Pisticus very soon.
This is quite a juicy beer, isn't it? It's a good.
The hops in this, primarily we use some cryo laurel. It's about 70% of fermentation. So that went in, and fermentation really fermented. It went bonkers as soon as we introduced that into the mix. There's a few of the hops in there, but again, North American.
Excellent. Well, we're into our last 5 minutes now, so
okay. Any more questions?
We haven't got any more questions at the moment, but if anybody wants to, then type them in. We've got a couple of dozen participants out there. Shall we try some of the hand raising stuff? Can participants raise their hands if they've been drinking a BrewBoard beer tonight?
Pete and Andy, we've got David, and we've got George.
Okay, that's pretty good. And can we ask people if they've, even if they're not drinking them tonight, if they've ever had a BrewBoard beer?
So we've got Laura, John, Pete and Andy, Colin. A few more popping up. Niall, George, Simon. So good number of you. I don't know if people can get in the chat. I'd be very interested to see very quickly people's favourite BrewBoard beer. See if there's a bit of a kind of overview of who's winning in the character stakes.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly enjoying this one. I mean, I've been looking forward to it since I saw it was out. The New England IPAs have been quite a revelation over the last few years. So it was good to see BrewBoard producing one.
So we've just had a question coming from Sarah Hyde, which we'll get in one of the last questions. Stuck sparges. How do you deal with that, especially with the stronger beers and heavier grain bills?
We should have maybe used some rice hulls in the first place to try and avoid that, to create some pathways in the mash and the grist. A bit late for that. With it, I think it just takes a bit of time. The only way you can really do it is if you can lift the actual mash body off the bottom of the mash tun, where it's obviously dropped, it's got stuck on the wedge wire, or well, I presume maybe a gauze that you might have in the bottom of your mash tun. There's certain tricks you can do to try and lift it and break it up a little bit. You can pump, some things like nitrogen back through the base of the mash tun, but that gets a little bit tricky, and you can really break up, the underside of the bed of the mash. Sometimes you just have to let it do its stuff and take its time. There's no easy fix. Well, but I'd always say if you've got quite a lot of wheat malts and oat malts in there, you need to get something in there that husks, like rice hulls, or put some torrefied malts in there, barley in there, things like that. The husks on those, they help produce pathways through the grain.
Same as the rice hulls. Yeah. So we are a minute left, and we've got a few people who have come in. The only beer actually that got named twice was Rex, but we also had Caesar, Beasticus, Turmoil, and a couple of others thrown in there. So it looks like there's a good spread of range of what people like. And with that, I think that's probably our time, I believe.
Thank you very much for coming on and talking about it. And thanks for that today. And
when things are back to normal, everyone's invited to come and join in the party, because there's going to be a lot of big parties going on here.
Because you're open every Friday, aren't you?
Yeah, normally, yeah, and we'll be doing Saturdays, obviously in the summer weather, which is nice now. But if people want beers, go head to the shop on the website and just see what's coming in, what stocks we've got available at the moment.
It's ever changing.
Ever changing, because we're getting pretty stripped out of beers quite rapidly. As soon as we're brewing it and packaging it, it's going out the door, which is quite nice.
No, it definitely sounds like the commandant's got to come back.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Anyway, thanks everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali.
See you soon.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.